My wife and baby are in Florida. I am in Hamilton, Ontario. Hamilton, Ontario looks like this. Florida looks like this.
Miami.
It's not fair. Seriously, I had no idea how much my wife helped me just to be a functional human being. For the last 6 days, I've just been working all the time or staring sad out windows. It's pathetic. So I thought I'd seize this depression and make a video. Let's talk about success. A couple of weeks ago, I made a short video called "What Are You Afraid Of?" And it was about fear and failure. And I touched on success, but somebody else pointed out that we didn't really spend enough time talking about success. So let's talk about success for a minute with Pierogi over here. Everybody wants it. You want to be successful in what you do. Nobody wants to fail, but you get very little control over whether or not you will be successful. We get no guarantees. There are only two things that you do get to control. Let me show you what I mean. This line we're going to call competency. Your competency is every skill and gift you have and every skill and gift you've learned. On the other side of this graph, we've got a vertical line, character. Now, character is the mental and moral qualities distinct to an individual. I would see character being love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and faithfulness and self-control. So let's grid this out. If you have low character and low competency, you're boring, you're dead, and nobody's gonna wanna be around you. Mind you, I don't really know the moral integrity of a sloth. Nobody wants to have low character and low competency. If you have high character but low competency, you can live a good, simple, kind life. You may not accomplish too much for your community or your family because you haven't grown in competency, but at least you're not hurting anyone. Now we get to the scary quadrant. Now when you're dealing with a person who has a high competency but a low character, we're in a very dangerous situation. Someone once told me that a person with high competency but low character has an unlimited capacity for destruction. And this should scare us. I mean, this should scare you. That if you don't work on character, eventually your weaknesses and failures, your sin will find you out. We have lots of examples in our world right now of people with low moral character but a high competency, and it's hurting everyone. No matter how good you are at your craft, no matter how competent, there is no substitute for character. And if you are broken enough in your character, it will eventually come back to bite you in the ass and destroy your entire legacy. Finally, we have the kinds of people we should all aspire to be. People that live in a space of high moral character and high competency. And these are the kinds of people who are alive, who are flourishing, and who are blessing all others around them. These are the kinds of people that when you think of them, you light up. The kinds of people that you want to be around, the kinds of people that you admire. These are the kinds of people that change the world and don't hurt others in the process. When you have strong character and strong competency, you have the skills to get where you need to go and the wisdom to know which direction that is. You have an unlimited capacity for blessing. There's this story in the New Testament about a time that Jesus has gathered a huge crowd together because the crowds would come out to hear him speak. He told great stories. Have you heard the one about the guy and his two sons? Ace! This massive crowd has gathered, and Jesus starts going on and on and on about how if you want to be his disciple, you first just have to eat his body and drink his blood. And the people are listening to him going, what are you talking about? I read it now and I'm kind of like, yeah, I get it. This is weird. So the crowds just begin to scatter. They leave one by one, small groups falling off until it's just Jesus and a few of his closest friends and disciples. But we don't do well with rejection. There's an app you can get that tells you whenever someone unfollows you on Instagram. I don't have it, but I'm the kind of person who would. Like all of your Twitter followers in one day are gone. How does Jesus respond? When the crowds leave him, when all of his followers unsubscribe using that little box below, how does he respond when everything he's built comes crashing down? Jesus isn't even worried. See, Jesus understands exactly who he is and exactly what he's here to do. He is so rooted in his character that he's not troubled when he faces rejection. A mentor of mine has said to me, Jesus wasn't afraid of the crowds, but he wasn't impressed by them either. As long as he was on about his calling, he wasn't bothered by how many people showed up. To be a follower of Jesus is to not worry so much about being successful. It's to worry yourself about being faithful. To do the work you are called to do and to be the person you are called to be and to open your hands up to whatever level of success you are given for the length of time you are given it. And isn't this the way that it works? The best artists are the ones who pursue what they're called to do, who have the character and competency to follow their calling, and they do not sweat how many people come with them. One of my favorite artists is Sufjan Stevens, and this dude released a bunch of folk albums and then put out this weird EP followed by an electronica album back to a minimalist folk album. I mean, this is what the Radioheads and the Sufjan Stevens and the Chance the Rappers of the world understand. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all like Jesus, although in this way they might be. That you need to be free enough to pursue what you're called to pursue as the person you've been called to be, and not obsessing all the time over whether or not it's successful. Just gotta be faithful. Yes, that's what we are on about. That is just another day at the pick-up on me. That was the worst. This is what happens to me when my wife and baby are gone for a week. I need them to come back. It's all falling apart. For the record, I was talking about this with my wife the other day and walking through this whole video concept, and I was saying to her, it doesn't matter whether or not you're successful. All that matters is that you pursue character and competency and you leave the results up to God. And she said, oh, is that why you check how many views your video has every couple of minutes? Busted. Here's the honest truth. I am no pro at this stuff. I am just learning like everybody else. But I am grateful for the continual reminder that we are called to pursue character above all, and then we are called to pursue competency, and from there we relinquish our control over whether or not we receive success. So, what do you think? Let's carry on a conversation about character. What does it look like to shape character in your life? Are there communities that you surround yourself with, friends and family that you gather around to build a life of character? Practices or rituals that you engage in? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to help this channel grow, you can share this video, click subscribe below. There's that little bell that will give you notifications for when these videos drop. I'm trying to put one out every Wednesday. Relinquishing control, Lord. I'm gonna do my part, grow in my character, trying to grow in some competency when it comes to making videos that don't suck. In a few weeks, Jesse and I will put out a new video in the Good Vibes, Good News series around Valentine's Day. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye!
I only came for 2 days of playing, but every time I come I always wind up staying. Just the type of town I can spend a few days in. Miami, the city that keeps the roof blazing.